Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Let me greet you on behalf of the Udmurt State University, Ijevsk City. Several conferences entitled Education and Intercultural Relations have already been held in our university. This is going to be the fifth conference this year, and it has certain traits and peculiarities. Let me remind you that the objective of the Symposium 2012 is to interchange the results of various researches. The conference is also aimed at creating project groups involved in the issue development of polycultural education, theory and practice, to implement joint researches, to improve the quality of education, taking into account all levels, including primary education, secondary education, professional education, preschool and supplementary education, to develop new social technologies providing national, social and personality safety and competitiveness through implementation of ideas of polycultural education. Our symposium is supposed to provide common discussion ground and to organize perspective project groups, which could be founded according to related issues and objectives. Then after that, the following groups would be able to work on these issues and objectives effectively and independently. Experts involved in our conference, both from Russia and some foreign countries, are going to introduce initial analysis and review of the ideas presented by each group. I would like to show you the map of universities and institutes and partners who turned out to be responsive on taking part in our symposium. The following map includes Udmurt State University, which is close to the Urals, and it also includes both eastern and western parts of Russian Federation and of the Russian-speaking world. The theme of my report is polycultural education, issues, problems, prospects. I have pointed out 7 issues that are worth being discussed within the bounds of our symposium, and I would also like to deal with some prospects and perspectives. So the first issue is to clarify and precise the concepts of polycultural education, multicultural education, and intercultural education. If we consider the following phenomena as a sphere, we can observe intersections between such concepts and scientific terms as multicultural education and intercultural education. Sector D. As well as if polycultural education has a claim on an individual status, then we must define what makes its essence and thus differs from multicultural education and intercultural education, and where certain intersections could be found. Sector C. Personal-focused polycultural education seems to be more perspective in this regard. This aspect of polycultural education was based on the theory of study of education and culture developed by a school of thought founded by Bondarevskaya and on the theory of polycultural education integration introduced by Daniluk and his school of thought. So the second issue. It is commonly accepted in Russian pedagogy to point out 2 sides of education. The first side is didactics, which is to deal with accumulation of competencies, skills, and knowledge. The second aspect is training, or vospitание, as is it used by scientists in our country, which is related to accumulation of cultural values. Thus, education could be regarded as a total of these 2 sides, and there are 2 directions: polycultural didactics and polycultural training. I assume not only independent, but integrative and cooperative researches should be rather perspective. Issue number 3. As a rule, pedagogy singles out 4 interrelated and interdependent components as far as educational process is concerned, and they are objectives, content, methods and techniques, and forms. Pedagogical principles are used to implement theories into practice. One of the most perspective pedagogical principles could be development and modeling of the following components. Content of polycultural education, personally focused polycultural education in particular. Methods and techniques of polycultural education. Tools of polycultural education applied in our new information epoch. Proper forms of polycultural education aimed at providing students subjectivity. And principles of polycultural education, suitable for putting theory into practice. The fourth issue. I assume it should be logic of educational process while implementing ideas of polycultural education, as opposed to monocultural education or quasi-polycultural education. Implementation and verification of current models and stages of polycultural education or development, and introduction of some new models. In this slide, you could see some models that were developed in different periods, and they somehow show the way educational institutions could follow to get to polycultural education. Designing of polycultural practices based on the idea of continuity and multi-paradigm approach seems to be quite beneficial. The fifth issue. This is going to be results and consequences of polycultural education. What are they caused by and what do they depend on? Intercultural competence and polycultural competence, are they similar or independent phenomena? What are profound psychological mechanisms of polycultural education that are supposed to influence individuality? What should be considered as phenomenology, psychology, and sociology of polycultural education? In this regard, we assume that the following items could be quite profitable. Development of diagnostic tools, monitoring applied in school or university of certain region, city, town, or country. We also believe the research of polycultural competence influence on personal social adaptation and competitiveness to be rather perspective. The sixth issue. This issue is to deal with difficulties we have to face while turning polycultural education into practice, taking into account stages of preschool education, primary school education, secondary education, and professional education. We are also to discuss both objective and subjective obstacles of polycultural education implementation. We believe researches and studying of subjective obstacles raised by teachers, students, bachelors, masters, parents, managers would be quite perspective. How to deal with the following obstacles? It could possibly be epidemiology of polycultural education. The seventh issue. This issue is related to direction management of educational institution within a region, city, town, or country in order to improve the level of polycultural education. The following aspects could be beneficial enough. Studying of direction mechanisms from traditional monoculturalism to polyculturalism, interaction of authorities, civil society, business, mass media, and science. Interaction and cooperation of various approaches, school of thoughts should be considered as promising direction for the development of polycultural education, taking into account the experience both of Russian and foreign science. Our symposium would hopefully provide interaction and communication mentioned above. It would probably provoke interest of the scientists who have already contributed into the promotion of polycultural education, and of those who are about to start the research, and they would be given an opportunity to get certain evaluation and review of their research's prospect. We would hopefully be able to observe the map of issues related to polycultural education and developed by scientists in different parts of the world. Thank you for your attention.